Night after night, the damage grew. By dawn, the corn was trampled, irrigation lines torn, and yards churned into mud. As a machine had run through, a family farm waking to that ruin can feel powerless. But this story is not about despair. It's about a pivot. Farmers stopped using brute force and started using behavior as the weapon. They watched, mapped trails, and baited patiently until whole sounders moved like clockwork into purpose-built corrals. Then, with a single tap on a phone, a remote latch closed and an entire lineage was removed in seconds. No gunshots, no chaos, no survivors to teach avoidance. This isn't spectacle alone. It's the hard-earned strategy that turned nightly terror into predictable control, protected a seasoned harvest, and bought time for communities to rebuild. Stay with us. You'll see the exact trap designs, the patient prep, and the humane protocols that made it work. By the end, you'll understand the patient science behind their success. Read on. To understand why modern wild hog control works, it helps to understand the behavior of the animal itself. Wild hogs are not random wanderers. They move through landscapes using predictable patterns that repeat night after night. These animals travel along the same trails, visit the same feeding areas, and rely heavily on memory and scent when deciding where to safely go. Once a location becomes part of their routine, they may return to it again and again for weeks. That pattern is exactly what farmers and wildlife managers use to their advantage. Instead of reacting to damage after it happens, they begin by studying movement. Trail cameras are placed along tree lines, water holes, and crop edges where hog tracks appear most often. These cameras quietly record the time, size, and direction of each visiting group. After several nights, a clear pattern begins to form. The group structure wild hogs is also important. Most hogs travel in family groups called sounders. A sounder usually includes several adult females and their young. They move together, feed together, and follow the same leader when traveling between feeding sites. Because they act as a unit, capturing only one or two animals does little control the population. The remaining members simply return later and continue breeding. For this reason, modern trapping focuses on capturing the entire sounder at once. Achieving that requires patience. Farmers first begin a process known as pre-baiting. Bait, usually cracked corn, is placed inside the trap area while the entrance remains open. At first, hogs approach cautiously. They circle the area, smell the bait, and retreat. But after several nights without disturbance, they begin feeding more confidently. As the routine continues, more members of the group arrive together. Soon the entire sounder walks inside the trap area without hesitation. Cameras confirm when the group is fully comfortable entering and feeding at the same time. Only then is the trap system activated. Different systems use different methods, but the principle is the same. Some traps use flexible net enclosures that allow hogs to push inside but prevent escape. Others use a drop gate system controlled remotely through mobile networks. When the entire herd enters the trap, a signal triggers a gate to close instantly. This timing is crucial. If the trap is triggered too early, some hogs remain outside and quickly learn to avoid the structure. Those survivors become extremely cautious and can pass that behavior to younger animals. Waiting until every member of the group is inside ensures the population is removed completely from that location. Once the animals are safely contained, trained wildlife professionals handle the next steps Following local regulations, humane standards require minimizing stress and injury while ensuring the animals are managed responsibly. The real strength of the system lies in understanding behavior instead of fighting against it. Wild hogs rely on habit, memory, and group movement. By studying those habits carefully, farmers transform what once seemed like an uncontrollable invasion into a manageable challenge. Instead of chasing animals endlessly across fields, they guide them into a controlled space where the outcome can finally be predicted. After decisive captures, communities shifted from one-off raids to long-term stewardship. Success meant preventing reestablishment, not celebrating a single night. This required a coordinated cycle of monitoring, adaptive placement, and cooperative governance. Monitoring became routine. Camera grids and motion sensors were maintained along funnels and water points. Thermal flights filled gaps where dense cover hid movement. Each detection was logged with time, group size, and behavior notes. Over weeks, patterns emerged and analysts could predict peaks and troughs in activity, turning frantic reaction into scheduled operations. Trap placement grew dynamic. Managers rotated corral sites based on detections and varied bait to prevent conditioning. Pre-baiting durations matched local wariness. Shy sounders needed longer habituation. Bolder groups shorter cycles. After each closure, teams reviewed footage to refine the next placement. Humane and sanitary protocols were standardized. Trained crews performed rapid health checks, followed vet euthanasia, when required, and ensured carcass handling met public health rules. Transparency built community trust. Habitat measures reduced attractants. Landholders secured feed, repaired fences, and altered water access, so wallows did not become congregation. Buffer strips and small earthworks funneled movement into monitored choke points, making interventions surgical rather than scattershot. Economic models supported continuity. Regional funds subsidized shared trap hubs and extension services provided training on equipment and handling. Where processors bought inspected carcasses, some control costs were offset, turning management into a sustainable activity. Governance scaled through agreements setting common bait calendars, synchronized activations, and rapid response rosters. These protocols prevented displacement, where clear properties simply invite new herds. Regular meetings shared anonymized data and maintained commitment. Adaptive management governed choices. Teams tracked nightly detections, juvenile recruitment ratios, and hectares damaged. Rising metrics triggered increased surveillance or tactical shifts. When disease signals appeared, operations paused and veterinary guidance directed responses. Social license came with openness. Public briefings explained humane measures, handling protocols, and processing outcomes. When communities saw fewer ruined fields and stabilized losses, opposition softened and cooperation grew. This framework did not promise eradication, but produced durable control. Quiet cameras became the metric of success. Where the network held, fields recovered and nights grew peaceful. The fight against wild hogs was recast not as endless hunting, but as pragmatic stewardship. Observe, coordinate, adapt, and fund the systems that keep landscapes functional. Start with a camera grid, a neighbor meeting, and a shared fund. Scale from there. Act now. Start small. Sustained success against wild hogs is built on systems, not single triumphs. Effective control integrates monitoring, habitat change, veterinary safeguards, and neighbor coordination into an ongoing routine that prevents damage before it becomes crisis. Begin with continuous observation. Camera grids, motion sensors at water points, and periodic thermal surveys convert night chaos into predictable patterns. Feed detections into a shared dashboard and review regularly. Small signals, a new trail, shifted timing, or a rising juvenile index matter because they allow surgical, early responses instead of frantic reaction. Reduce congregation through landscape design. Secure livestock feed, cover compost, repair fences quickly, and modify water access so unnecessary wildlife vanish. Plant buffer strips at field edges, and use low earthworks to funnel movement into monitored choke points. These modest changes make interventions targeted and lower the need for large-scale captures. Institutionalized coordination. Neighbor agreements should set bait calendars, synchronized trap rotations, and shared activation windows so animals cannot simply move to the next property. Pool funds for shared equipment, train rapid response teams, and assign clear roles. Regular briefings and transparent reporting build trust and sustain commitment. Prioritize veterinary surveillance, routine serology at wallows, rapid necropsies, and secure carcass disposal limit pathogen spread. Veterinary partners should guide pauses in operations during outbreaks and advise sanitation protocols. Early detection prevents public health problems and preserves social license. Make management adaptive and data-driven. Track nightly detections per funnel, juvenile survival ratios, and hectares damaged. If metrics climb, shift placements, vary bait, or increase surveys. Run small tests, measure results, and scale what works. Adaptive cycles prevent predictable patterns that hogs learn to avoid. Align incentives to reduce perverse outcomes. Certified processing channels, modest payments for verified data, and benefit sharing ensure communities gain from humane control. With transparent rules and local returns, illegal translocation and fraud decline. Invest in capacity. Train technicians in camera upkeep, humane restraint, and data entry. Fund extension services that distill science into clear playbooks. Celebrate quiet cameras as success. Absence of rooting is the clearest metric of progress. Plan for shocks. Exotic diseases, predator shifts, or sudden herd movements need contingency funds and response drills. A small rapid response team and diagnostics make local events manageable, not regional crises. The goal is durable coexistence. Fewer ruined fields, safer neighborhoods, and ecological recovery where pressure eases. Start local. Set up cameras, meet neighbors, and seed a pool fund. Over seasons, disciplined neighbor actions compound into resilience that protects livelihoods.